What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mr. Straight Facts Show. I am Mr. Straight Facts. Now, today, some people out there celebrate holiday. I'm not, but more pleasure to you, happiness to you, whatever if you do. But I'm not going to go into that. I just wanted to say happy whatever for whomever wants to do it. Uh, I wanted to speak about this topic is about Zoran Mamdani. A lot of people are tripping over this dude. And I've been researching, and I'm saying, is the smoke that Zoran Mamdani receiving warranted? And so far, what I've been able to find, it's not. Republicans, a lot of the MAGA have been going crazy over the fact that this man is running. So much so that even Donald Trump is even trying to talk about, revoking his citizenship and sending him out of the country. Just the idea of a president getting rid of people who he doesn't like out of the country that are here legally should alarm everybody, not just, liberal, progressive, Democrat, independent. Every American should be like, shut the fuck up, Donald. And yet you got some of these people out here agreeing with him. This country is like going down the crappers. What I want to say that's a little less, blunt. But what this man is asking for is not, or even running on, is not that drastic. How you doing, Vera? It's not that drastic. So we're gonna go over a little bit with Zoran Mamdani in New York, what he's asking for. Now I know there are many. I got people who live in New York who don't like him, or they're questioning him and they don't know who he is and everything like that. I know he came out of left field for many New Yorkers, or New Yorkers rather. But I understand that. But look at his policies is my point, and where is he coming from? The people's point of view. Everything the people want, he's talking about. And I got to do more research on where the funding's coming from. But so far, so good as far as I've seen. We're going to go over some of the things that he's asking for that somehow Democrats are like freaking out like they don't want it to happen. I don't know. When did the Democrat Party become a party that when it hears ideas or ideals for the people, they want to run away from it instead of run toward it? I don't know when that happened. I got to revisit the Democrat Party again because you're supposed to be for the people and Republicans are for rich people. But the reality is both of you guys are for rich people. It's just a fraction of you guys inside the group, which I'm starting to learn more and more about. I have to be honest with the fact that, I've been a Democrat, again, ever since I was, young. My parents were Democrats and grandparents were Democrats and all that. And I'm not saying I'm against Democrats. I'm saying is I would say, not necessarily, I guess you'd say the stereotype of Democrats based upon, even from the outside looking in and not even digging deep into the definition of who they are. In my lifetime, and even my parents for the most part, that party is the only one that has reached out to the black community and said, come, we're going to help you out. See, a lot of people think of they're the ones who started the welfare, queen type of situation. It's like, no, that welfare was already for white people. They didn't give it to poor black people until many, many years later. And then they threw on, again, they were evil to us as opposed to what they were doing to white people. They threw on to us that, oh, you can't have a husband live in a house. You can't have this live in a house. And you got to have, and all these regulations that they didn't have on it when it was only for white people. It was a huge deterrent for black people to get on it. To ask your husband to leave the house, that right there, of course, they were trying to break up families, but more than likely, they were just trying to make it so that you couldn't receive the funds. So it's up to you on how you pay attention to it. It's like, oh, if you need these funds, which you do, then kick your husband out. You could have said no and just, hoofed it. You know what I'm saying? Did whatever you could. But you wanted that money, so you decided, all right, John, get the hell out. Move next door, and we can get this money. the reality is we had a choice in that aspect to be extremely poor or to have this opportunity. And of course, more than likely, we're going to pick the opportunity because, again, it was just meant to get us a lift up so that we can get out of what we're into. So people did it. But it was all because the government wanted to break up that family and not pay them. When it was just free by itself, the money coming in and saying, oh, we know we need help. When it was giving it to just white people only from like 1930 in the mid 30s to 1968, when it was all for white people, they didn't have all these damn regulations on it. It was just given to them because, oh, we know you're having problems. We know economically you got issues. Oh, black people coming in. Oh, well, your husband's got to leave. Oh, well, you only can have this. Oh, well, you only can live in this community. Oh, your rent can only be this. And that's when all the regulations started to come in. So when you start to look at a little bit closer into the Democrat Party, even the programs that were provided for us had a lot of restrictions for us, right? So now for me, I believe it's time to revisit what the Democrat Party is all about. How you doing, Rude? I see you. I see you, Mark. What is the Democrat Party all about? What does it stand for? I think we've kind of, at least for me, and questions I've been asking people in my life, I think we've conflated the Democrat Party into one party when, again, there's the progressives, there's the conservatives, there's the liberals, which are different, and Democrat is just like the big tent from whence all of them live under. And so what do we have in common, and why aren't we so well put together? We start to see the breakup within the relationship of different types of Democrats by looking at the younger Democrats and the older Democrats. The older Democrats are more centralist or centrist, and then they like balk at progressives and liberals, but they want to run on the progressive and liberal ideologies, but only offer them one or two of their ideals, and then somewhere they reside in the middle. Democrats need to understand the reason why our party isn't powerful is because we don't have a lot of collective agreeances within our party. If you're a liberal, you have a different perspective of a Democrat than a progressive, which has a different perspective of a Democrat than is a centrist. And when you get closer to the center of Democrats, you really become an old school like Republican, where you just kind of like on the fence about everything, and kind of like you can vote Republican or Democrat or Republican on issues where you can be highly conservative. And so I think that our party is so split that we don't really have a lot of agreeances other than the fact of, equal rights. And again, we'll go over that just a little bit of like which part of our party actually agreed more on that than the other. I did not know all of these things. I was just in these groups based off of specific things that help me and my people or my family, like voting on issues and realizing that one party holds the issues that I care about more dear than the other. Republicans have never cared about really any issue that I cared about. Even fiscal conservatism, they don't care about that. I care about it more. Being a Democrat, I care about it more than most Republicans because I want the bills to be paid. I'm freaking out for the fact that our debt's going from like 30 something trillion to based off this bill that they just passed, the Republicans just passed, it's going to go from 30 something to 59 trillion. This is not coming from a Democrat. This is coming from a Republican. Ron Johnson said this is going to go. Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican, a MAGA Republican, is on camera saying it's going to go from 30 something trillion to 59 trillion. That is not fiscally conservative. That is the complete opposite of it. It's wasteful spending. So we're going to cut spending by spending astronomically more. It makes no sense. So what we're going to do is go over some of the things. And I think that what most Americans really kind of want is like, let's just get back to like, what do we really care about? I think all of us want our bills to be paid. and that our kids are not going to be paying bills that we made freaking decades earlier. That's just insane. We should not be borrowing money and having our children pay for it and our grandchildren pay for it. Waking up, coming out the womb with debt as an American citizen that they had no choice for, and that their parents or grandparents voted in dipshits that did this, while the other parents sat back and was like, And then we had other ones who did nothing. Oh, I don't believe in the system. Well, you're going to end up paying for that system whether you believe in it or not. So if you're not voting, if you're not being a part of the system, I'm sorry, but you're going to owe that debt. And so are your kids going to owe that debt. And if you're not active in it, you can't really complain. You got to understand something. A lot of why we have these debts and this deficit and shit like that, and on top of billionaires trying to get more and more money, is the reason why we have to have 3, 4 jobs just to get by. Is the reason why a majority of Americans, upwards of like 80% in the early 2000, well, not 2018, 2019, to somewhere around 60 something, almost 70% now, live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because our government is going rampant and mostly under Republicans. That same guy, I think it was Senator Ron Johnson, that said under Obama, our debt, or I think he said debt, or whichever one, I think it may be debt. He said it was like 980 like billion or something like that, right? That I think he said our deficit grew to 980 billion. Under like Republicans in this bill, it is estimated to be a minimum of $2.2 trillion. And this is just Donald Trump's, like what, he's been in office once, that's 4 years. He's been in it 4 years and 5 months, and he's already going to saddle us with $2.2 trillion more of debt. And that's supposed to be somebody who's fiscally conservative? It's going to take us from 30-something trillion to 59 trillion? Come on, man. I think we all need to realize that's stupid. That's just plain stupid. So we're going to go over Zoran Mamdani and why New York is like excited about him. And he's getting somewhere around 56 or something like that % of the vote, which the Democrats don't understand. Be wary of the establishment Democrats. Some of them as well are trying to squash this dude. And when you start to learn what he's trying to do, I think the American citizen is more excited about what he's trying to do than what the traditional Republican people or Democrats are trying to do. We've been asking billionaires in the Democrat Party to be more vocal. We've got, on the Republican side, we got billionaire after billionaire, and people who said they were even Democrats or even liberals to some degree, like Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and all them who said that they were liberal, are on the Republican side giving them a shit ton of money. You can't say that you're liberal and you're giving the opposition tens of millions of dollars, 40 million for Amazon, 25 million for Zuckerberg. I forgot how much the other ones gave. One of them gave like $1 million or something. Apple gave so many millions. It makes no sense. So let's listen to what he has to say. Well, he's not going to talk. I'm going to talk about it. But the things that he's offering, policies, are housing and cost of living, right? He's trying to put a freeze on rent increases on all like stabilized units, rent stabilized units. So that's over 1 million homes, right? He's talking about creating more homes, over 200,000 permanently affordable union built, so he's getting union jobs, apartments over the next decade. This is backed by $100 billion investment fund through taxes, bonds, and public land. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about later, the next phase of this, once I tell you these things that he's talking about doing, how he's either determined to pay for them or have already placed some of it in, or some of it's already in place and it just needs to be expanded. So we'll see. because you got a lot of people like Republicans and Democrats alike that are trying to squash like this can't be, it can't be possible, it's not affordable. I call bullshit. If we can take care of millions of people for 2 years straight without having to go to work, you can't tell me you can't make something work where money's coming in through millions of people putting money into the pot because they're working more, getting paid a fair wage. You're getting more taxes coming out of their pocket because they're getting paid a living wage. You're telling me that more money, that more employing more people, giving them more money, they're paying more taxes. You're trying to tell me you're going to have less money to take care of the people? That shit don't make any sense whatsoever. I give people living wage jobs and they pay higher taxes, and the amount of taxes that come in are going to rise, but somehow you're going to have less money. That shit don't make sense. It don't make sense. So the problem is that they want billionaires, Republicans, Democrats alike are trying their best to dumbify the people. And it's just a point where you got to realize that even though we may be college educated or life educated, wise, but because of age, the majority of Americans they read at like a 6th grade level. Okay, so this is an understanding where you kind of like, oh, no wonder we're talking into the wind. Most of them are not bright when it comes to comprehension. They believe in their feeling more than they understand or comprehend what's going on. That's why they're not reading as much. It's because of the fact that they read at like a 6th grade level. They can't comprehend this stuff. It's too difficult for them to comprehend. And me finding that out here recently, that the average American is reading at a 6th grade level. No wonder we're talking into the wind, and they just seem like they're just being stupid. It's because they can't comprehend it. And that's what Donald Trump and the MAGA people, they said, I love the uneducated. That's because they know the majority of Americans have a 6th grade level of education, and not necessarily went to school, but read at a 6th grade level. Then you're saying you love a majority of the Americans. We who have an education above that think that we're the norm. We are not. And that right there can help you understand how some of these people, you're talking over their heads, talking at a level that you feel is like, 12th grade level, which you think is average. No, it's not. That's why they don't understand us. That's why they get pissed at us, because they can't comprehend. We got to talk to them like Donald Trump talks to them. Donald Trump speaks at like a 5th grade fucking level. He's talking their language. So Democrats are looked at as like this bougie group of people that speak above their heads, don't understand what we're going through, because they don't have the vernacular that we have. We're speaking over their head. You're bougie. Of course we look bougie because you're stupid. No disrespect. It's just a fact. If you were a 30-year-old person with a 6th grade level, what would we call that? What would we call a person that's in 12th grade but read like a 6th grader? Would they be in regular classes or special ed? So grown-ass people who don't live life and still got an education level mentally of a 6th grader? Of course, Donald Trump likes the uneducated, because they did the study and found out that most Americans are. See, we've gotten into that mindset to think that our education level is just the norm. And I'm here to tell you, my friends, if you understand what I'm talking about and have heard the words that I'm speaking, you're not normal. You're above average in this country. And I guarantee you this shocks many of you, that your level of education, you don't think of yourself as a genius or just extraordinarily smart. You don't think that. You think that you're just probably average. Go look up the average reading level or comprehension level of the Americans, and you'll realize you're way smarter than you think. You're not average. You're way above average. And that's scary. So that's why we can't reach these people, is because we can't speak that language. not on a regular. We're talking down to them if we speak in, we got speak at that 6th grade level. You sound like you're talking down to them because they just can't get it. You ever notice how you talk to someone, maybe in your family or friend, and you talking to them about these issues, and you think they're on your level, and they just can't comprehend it? They be like, "Well, you don't know what you're talking about," and you think you're like, "Wait a minute, I'm just speaking like this is a fact. This and this and this happened." They can't comprehend it. They're not there. They didn't develop to be at 12th grade level intellect. They're at the 6th grade level. Now it should make more sense to you why they don't get it. You got to speak to them like through feelings. What's the feeling? Do you like feeling broke? No. Well, then I'm going to help you not be broke. Oh, I get it. The bill is about not being broke. I get it. But if you say, I want to help you be more fiscally conservative, fuck, you don't lost them. What's fiscal? What's conservative? What is that? What's he talking about? Even if they read it, they still would not get what fiscal conservatism is. That's not their level. I want to help you save more of your money, pay off your bills, become wealthier. Oh, I get it. Democrats, we speak above, I'm sorry to say it, but a grown-up person speaking at 6th grade, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. But we speak above idiot level. Just being normal. And we think we're normal. You're not. You're above average. Way above it. And that's scary. Because we don't think we're bougie. They do, though. That's why you get them saying, oh, hoity-toity, they all bougie. They think it's because they can't comprehend you. And you're thinking you're speaking regular fucking language. Like, boy, I'm just saying, I just said the car went over the moon. And you act like I just said something way, I'm like I told you some like bull, like on some scientific theory. All I said was, that's why, just to get you an understanding of where we at, so we understand these things. So you understand why Donald Trump is successful is because he speaks to idiots, but he don't call them idiots, but he kind of does. I like the people who aren't smart, right? The poorly educated, I love. He literally calls them stupid. I know you're just, but Donald Trump is stupid too. He's at that same level. So that's why he resonates, because he speaks hatred. He speaks xenophobia. He speaks dumb. The words he says make no sense to the average person, but these people, most of Americans, are not average. They're below average, sad as it is. And then they get pissed off at us because us speaking the way we just normally speak makes them feel stupid. They'll never admit it, but you'll see they'll get pissed off at you when you keep at that level of shit that makes you critically think. That's why they hate critical thinking. I have to think. A 6th grader is rarely getting into that phase of critical thinking. And if I can't do it, I'm opposed to it. I hate it because you're asking me to do something that my brain can't do well. So it's like a person who can't take tests, they can't stand tests. Everybody else getting A's, it's the same thing that they could possibly get A's in, but they can't do it. So they hate tests. It's not the test's fault. It's your fault based on how you learn. If you learned another way or a teacher taught you a different way, you might become like, oh, this is easier. Because we're all taught different ways, visually, orally, things of that nature. But anyway, I'm getting off of that for a minute, but I just wanted to say that's why we have these things. Housing, cost of living. The second thing he's talking about doing is transportation and mobility. And that's building on his legislative success with a fare-free bus pilot. See, now they've already built a bus-free bus pilot, a bus pilot that was fare-free in New York. But he wants to make it complete. They've already done a pilot of it and it works. And basically it's going to end up costing $650 million annually or something like that. And they're talking about doing that. through bonds and different things and certain taxes, raising the tax up 2% for the most wealthy in New York. Kind of like what what Democrats talked about, or Kamala Harris talked about, and President Biden when he was running for half of the term of running, raising 2% of the wealthy, for the wealthy, which is 2%, y'all. Come on. They're literally paying less percentage than all of us. Raising it 2%, percentage-wise, they're still less than all of us by far. They're paying like 15, 12%, raising that up to like 17 or 14% when we're paying 25 and 30% of our income. Come on. They're not asking. They're looking at the number, how much money it is. But just like I may make, $100,000, you may make $500,000. You're paying 30% of your money. I'm paying about 25% of my money. You're putting more into the pot than me, but you're getting your percentage is your percentage. I'm giving as much as I can as well. So if you're a billionaire and you're taking 10% of your funds, of course it's way more than the person who is making 500 and me making whatever 100. But it's not about how much more money you put into the pot. It is a percentage of your money that you put in the pot. We all are giving a percentage of our money to help grow the economy in the country that we profess to love. That's the only way it really works and becomes prosperous. If you're making $1 billion, you too should be giving up probably even more than we're giving up. Because again, if I'm making 100,000, right, I'm probably at like the 20 or 30% mark. If you're making 3 million, you're closer to the 49 or 50% mark, right? Like these stars talk about 50% of their money's gone with taxes. So at $1 million or so, you're paying 50% of it. So you get $500,000 and the government gets $500,000 for every million. But then you get up to billionaire status and they're only taking 10% of your fucking money, or 0 or 15%, or them getting pissed off to some of them paying 22%. I'm like, bro, if a person's making $1 million and taking 50% of their income and you're getting paid $1 billion and only taking 15, how the hell is that fair with the American citizens giving back to the country that makes it possible for them to have the jobs that they have and the opportunities that they have? You get to $1 billion and you're not giving up 50% of your income like a millionaire is. That right there is kind of effed up. So them trying to justify that is messed up. And American citizens need to come together and say, look, pay your fair share. It's simple as that. Stop being led by these billionaires, hiring somebody to become vice president like the billionaire did with J.D. Vance. We got to stop going after the people who have the biggest funds and the most voices on TV and start going after the people who have the plans and the strategies that benefit us as American citizens. I am sick of people talking about, oh, this person's this and this person that. I'm like, what does that got to do with the price of eggs? Are you planning on lowering the price of eggs? Okay, how you going to do it? Oh, I'm going to do this. How is that possible? How is it feasible? This and this. All right, cool. You got my vote on that one. What else you got, right? As opposed to just listening to somebody who has a gazillion dollars from billionaires. One of our biggest problems, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, is that we end up watching too many ads. And when a person has too many ads on air, that person has too much money coming in from dark money because they're not getting that much money from us. And so if the billionaire got their faces on TV, controlling our thought processes without us doing the homework, knowing that most people aren't like us and they're not going to do their homework. They're just going to watch these ads and see the pretty faces and be like, me like whatever, like a fucking, robot, me like her, and not pay attention to her not really having the background that she says she has on camera. Then they know they can control populations, our political sphere, just by throwing a shit ton of money at people. We need to help break them by helping them, whomever they back, like whoever Elon backs in the future. I don't give a shit who it is. We need to run the opposite direction of that person. Anybody billionaire wise, is backing somebody so strongly, we need to vote the opposite of that person. Why? Because they're owned by this person. So we need to find somebody who may have the same ideals, that want to pass the same things, but doesn't have that dark money attached to it. Because if the dark money is attached to it, which we know, we can just look at it. Anybody getting money from APAC and all these other places, we know that they are in the pockets of these organizations. And if any of these people continue to run with these types of funds behind them, then we need to start voting the opposite direction for people who who have our policies, but may not be well-known names. Personally, I'm willing to put in newer and younger bodies that agree on the things that we want, and not the well-known person. I'd rather take a gamble for 4 years on new blood, because this old blood and just being loyal to it, I'm done with. Because things aren't changing at a pace that I'm appreciative of. And oftentimes the voices in which most of us believe in, like an AOC, like these other individuals, like Jasmine Crockett, those voices are being silenced by the Democratic Party leadership, or not being backed fully. Like Mamdani has some really good ideas for the Democrat Party and for American citizens, and they're trying to nullify that and not give him the funds and back up off of him, like wait and see if that works. No, go full in on ideals that Americans want. Look at the person. Make sure they're not an illegal person, not legal like immigrant legal. I'm talking about illegal like they don't broke laws and shit or whatever. Make sure they haven't done anything like that nature. But once you vet them, we need to go full in on those people who really want the issues that benefit our lives. We need to go full in on people who are willing to give gay people their rights without trying to test them all the damn time. We got people who need to go in on the necks of Republicans when they say some of the most egregious shit that they know their constituents will not support. We need our leaders to get into that ass and say what they need to say, and we will back them up 100%. They can raise money on it. As long as they fucking fight, I'm willing to give them, 10, 20 bucks, whatever, consistently, if you gonna fight. And when I mean fight, you get to the point where you feel like they said something egregious, cuss them out in a heartbeat. Because to me, if you ain't fighting for us, you're letting them fight and beat us. You're fighting against the whole process. You don't have to cuss them out. You can do it your own way. But the idea is fight back. None of this, well, we're going to send an egregious letter bullshit. Nope. Ixnay. You got to go. I don't care if you did some great things. You got to go, bro. This is not the climate for it anymore. Those are the days of old. They're gone. That's gone with the horses. We no longer ride horses back and forth to work. You can leave that shit where it was before. We are in fucking cars that can drive themselves now. We don't need people talking about, I went and picked up my stud and drove it to the general store shit. We don't need that anymore. It's over. It's a wrap. It's done. That's the end of the song. Let's move on. All of them. I'm willing to get rid of every fucking Democrat and put in new people. I don't want any of the disease or the COVIDness of the Democrats that are in leadership. I don't want them. I just don't. Because I'm tired of people saying they're going to do something, and then when it's time for them to do it, they're too weak to do it, or they're on the fence. And I'm like, dude, wait a minute. We need to do some stuff that's radical to change some shit, and then be able to say, okay, we can back off of some things and move forward to other things. But we need people who are willing to change the world as we see it, to make it better for all people, and not just trying to ride the party line. The party line needs to be blown up and changed. The old way of doing things, to me, is over. It's time to change that. So he wants to deal with transportation, free busing in New York, and it's already being done. He just wants to expand it. So again, he's doing something that has been proven to be working in their state, and therefore he wants to expand it because obviously it's paying for itself, or it's feasible based upon whatever funds they have allotted to it. So the part that's holding everything back is the old mentality of Democrats, like, oh, we got to be this, we got to be that. It's like, look, make sure it's paid for, then help out the people. The people, we're tired of, rich people increasing rents for no fucking reason. Not taking care of stuff and things coming out of our pocket that they got to reimburse us for. It's just ridiculous. It's like, man, look, if you got the money and it's your property overall, you need to take care of it. We should not be having to take care of your property, improving your property and your property value while you don't do nothing for it. It's too often too many landlords are like that. And that needs to change. So he's doing a lot to be able to help in these particular areas. At least proposals. Again, we can't prove that people are going to do shit when they get in the office. But if you talk a good game and you got strategies to pull it off, well, we're willing to listen. It's better than somebody's not giving you anything. Just vote for me because I'm a Democrat. Come on, man. Let me get you guys in here real quick. I see your chats. There you go. All right. So let me catch up because your boy talk. Housing and cost of living, transportation and mobility, families and childcare. Working on childcare for kids 6 weeks to 5 years. And that's including baby baskets. I don't know exactly what that is. I don't know if it's about the chairs for the babies, I'm guessing. The seats of essentials for newborn families. Yeah, that's what I think it is. They call it baby baskets. That's new. We didn't call it that when they were kids. Well, my kids were little, at least. Public provision and food justice. All right. It's talking about to inaugurate city-run grocery stores in each borough. Food deserts, what they call them. Providing affordable health groceries. Providing affordable, healthy groceries while challenging price gouging and corporate control. Come on now. Who don't want that? Who don't want these people to not? I mean, who doesn't want to stop people from price gouging? That's what Kamala Harris was talking about. That everybody else was like, had a problem with. How can you do that? I ain't talking about Democrats. I don't know for sure that many was against it then, but I know Republicans were against it, talking about, oh, just want to get stuff for free, whatever. And it's like, yo, nobody wants anything for free. Price gouging literally means you shouldn't be taking more of my money, extraordinarily more of my money, for the same product that you charged me for, 2 weeks ago. You was charging me $3 for it. This week you're charging me $15 for it. That's extraordinary, and you should not be able to do that if it is a commodity that all people need. If you're selling like, flat screen TVs, do what you got to do. Nobody needs that. But if you're selling apples and oranges and pears and shit and things that people need, underwear and all, and you charging that shit like astronomically high for things we necessarily need, that we automatically need, that's price gouging that doesn't need to happen. Because you're going to have a client come back and come back and come back. Therefore, the prices in which you pay for them hasn't risen to the point where you can jack up the prices. There's a reason why corporations have rules, and did at least, rules and regulations where they couldn't do that in the past. But those regulations through Republicans and so forth in different states have been relaxed, and therefore people have, during pandemic, overpriced shit and have a justifiable reason like, oh, it's the pandemic. Once the pandemic's over, oh, it's the pandemic. It's like, no, it's not. Then they start to raise it. Then they start to lower it. As you notice, Target and a few other stores, after Kamala Harris, when she was running for president, was talking about we're going to stop the gouging, and it started picking up and being a good piece of policy that she wanted to do. You started to see like a Target and all these others saying, oh, we're going to cut prices and take a hit. You're not taking a hit. You're going to bring down your gouging prices to prices that it should be at, and it should have been at for the past year or two. But they wanted to justify, even Walmart did it, and they brought these prices down. They could have brought them down before. She didn't do anything but just bring it up, and all of a sudden they said, oh, we're going to give you some pressure off. Trying to get customer loyalty. Look, Walmart's doing it, and Target's doing it. Nobody else is. It bothers me, these rich people who don't care about people. They always play these gimmicks. And if you're just wise enough to see when they're doing it, look at the news and see what happened. And then you'll see, like a day or two, maybe a week before, you'll see why they're doing it. It's not because they care about you. It's because their sales went down. It's because they noticed and started listening to Kamala Harris. And after that started taking heat, and you see that ad like every few minutes, you see her talking about that ad. Then they realize people like it. Let's lower prices, brings you into the store and says you're behind that ideal, but you're not. You just want more money in because you're constantly looking at where the people's minds at. If they want a tax cut, a tax break, not tax, but they want a cut in prices and buying product, they'll lower it so that you can come in, but only for a short time only. Greed, I tell you, but he's going to do this for these like food deserts. Wages and economic equality or equity. He has this, what they call an audacious goal, minimum wage at $30 an hour by 2030. That's feasible. People say it's not feasible are people who have really, really small businesses and can't afford to pay somebody $30 an hour. When we have really small businesses, you don't really have that many employees. It's usually you. And if you do have like one employee or two employees, paying them $30 to work for like 3 days a week, you can do. If you need them for 5 days a week, then you need to start selling more product. Simple as that. No, or don't start a business. Start one in-home business where you can do whatever you can till you can afford it. But don't jump out and start a business and say I got to pay people shit to be able to survive. But those are the ones that are making you survive. Pay them that $30, they're going to be loyal to you. And they're going to stay with you for a minute and produce like crazy. And you're going to make a crap ton of profit off of it. You treat them the way you would like to be treated, trust me, they'll bust their ass for you. But if they're just scraping to get by, how are you happy that you're making a shit ton of money while your employees are talking about I can't eat tonight? It just trips me out how people don't think. If you can't afford them, think about raising money before you start your business, or do it all yourself until you can. You know what I mean? Or give them stock or something like that. But don't expect them to be poor while you make it rich. All right, progressive funding strategy. To pay for all of this, Mamdani proposes a 2% surtax on residents earning over $1 million, a bump in corporate tax rates, and an issuance of city bonds generating $20 billion. Now, issuance of city bonds, basically looking out to rich people internationally, domestically, and all that, to invest in that state, and therefore buying bonds that they end up getting, like you said here, $20 billion, and they owe that $20 billion back to those particular investors over time. And so that's exactly what America has. We have a bond market which kind of regulates our dollar. And even with this bill that just passed, we got to raise $9 trillion in bond money in order to help pay for some of this over time. $9 trillion. It means we got to go to billionaires, to other countries, probably back to China and Japan and other rich countries, and say, buy our debt, our bonds, while we reinvest in ourselves. Our money, we're good for it, and we pay them back with the interest. So if you're talking about raising $9 trillion, you're going to probably end up owing back $20 trillion for it. These people are not fiscally conservative whatsoever. So these are the ways he's talking about doing things. He's also talking about the climate and environment, public health and safety. In other words, and this one sounds good too. Department of Community Safety. It focuses on mental health, homeless outreach, and violence prevention. It supports sanctuary city protections and $65 million for gender affirming care, including mental health services for the LGBTQ plus New Yorkers. Now, Love it. Love it. It's saying in the part of we want to have a community safety so that if there is any kind of mental issue going on, when they call out and say, hey, look, my son is having a mental breakdown, who usually approaches these homes or officers. Officers are not trained. That's why you see over the years, if you've been watching social media over the years, you'll see where cops have unalived mostly black and people of color who have mental breakdowns because they're afraid of them to begin with. And when they're acting erratic and it's just their mental illness, they can't tell the difference between that and just being afraid of black people, that they end up shooting them. They end up, they holding them down and then giving them certain types of medications and shit from that and killing them. There's been people who died from that. It's just a plethora of like non-professionalism. They have no idea how to handle this stuff. And what Mamdani is saying, they need a department of community safety that you say, oh, my son or my daughter is having a mental breakdown and we can't control them. I think they're suicidal. You send out somebody from the Department of Community Safety and, do they have a weapon? No. Okay. Then you send out that safety, a person or whatever, and they are able to talk this person down via having experience and understanding strategies of how to talk mental health patients down as opposed to trying to unalive them first, right? Knowing that, oh, what has he got? Oh, he has this and certain disease. You know not to touch him. Touching him is going to make him wilder, where you know how to talk him or her down. And you say, what is a comfort word from them? And you know that they get comfortable when you start saying love or whatever. Then you say that word and incorporate it. So therefore they calm down a little bit. They come in and help as opposed to aggravate and unalive people. That is an awesome, awesome addition that you do not call officers out to do that because they don't know how to handle that. And they're more than likely to harm the person than help because they're not trained for it. Now, you get a lot of officers pissed off that they come to these type of events because they're like, I'm not trained for it. But when you ask them that you're going to replace these types of calls and give it to the Department of Community Safety, you can't be called out for these things unless it's like life or death. You get officer unions pissed off. They don't want it to happen. How do you want it both ways? Feel me? It doesn't make any sense. So I've noticed that even with that, the stress that they have, Mamdani and his people, or the opposition to that, is the police unions. Yet they complain that they're not trained for it and don't want to be called out to them. But it always comes down to like money and resources. If they're needed less for this particular type of thing, then funding will go more to this organization. Think about it. If this, mental health, like community type of thing, actually is effective, community safety, you don't need to police as much when it comes to people who are mentally health or have mental issues. These people can tame it down. So less union fees, less police officers on the street. It's not about getting rid of crime for some of them. It's about them being on the street getting paid to do said thing. And instead of trying to solve the problem, what he's offering actually solves this problem, or at least puts another solution to the problem that we haven't been able to solve just yet. So the unions in NYPD are resisting this. They call it defunding the police. Well, how is it defunding the police when you're really not getting rid of the police? You're adding on a force that focuses on mental health. Simple as that. It almost sounds like you want to go to these events and just shoot people because you know you're not qualified for it, and you're not of the mindset as an officer to be somebody who de-escalates. Because almost every time you see an officer in any situation on these apps, on these on the phones, whatever it is, they almost always escalate it because that's the way they're trained. It's not about de-escalation. And if you train this community like safety thing, train them, they already are therapists and so forth. They know how to de-escalate. That's their total job. They should work in unison, the officer and this community service. They shouldn't be like throwing it out. You know what I mean? So it really gets to the point of where people are worried about their power structure as opposed to solving a problem. This would actually solve some of the problems. You feel me? Let's see, what did Rude say? They do need to overhaul policing. It needs to be changed to public safety and have people on the payroll to deal with mental health and other issues cops can't handle. Exactly. And there shouldn't be, you would think you wouldn't have a resistance to that because you're not saying that you're getting more police officers off the street. You're saying that the issues in which you are not trained for, you do not need to be called out for. And what I'm thinking they're having problems with is that if you get this organization to come out and it's highly successful, they're worried that they won't be needed. They think that police, and this is the weird part about it, because if that's the case, then you're worried that being a police officer won't entail what it used to entail, like your power structure control. And it will end up showing that it's more effective to talk these people down than to arrest them and throw them to the ground. See, before you had excuses that I wasn't trained for this and we need more training. But if you send somebody out there with the training and they show you don't even need a gun really most of the times because these people are not aggressive. They get aggressive because a gun is in its presence. If that is proven, they become less needed. They're there, but they believe they become less needed. So therefore, these unions are resisting it. And American citizens have to get to the point where you got to say, look, I want my child, no matter what race, color, creed your child is, to come home safely and not get stopped by a police officer while they're having a mental breakdown and end up dead because the officer can't recognize it because he or she is not trained for it. And automatically resort to acting out instead of assessing the situation. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. So and so what Mamdani is talking about makes a hell of a lot of sense to a lot of Americans, and you're safe because again, if you call and say the person has a weapon, well then of course you're going to bring police officers, but you could bring police officers in tandem with a community safety person because then that community safety person can make sure that the police officers follow the right protocol to de-escalate instead of escalate. And therefore you will have another voice and trusted source there to validate whether if something does happen, did the police follow protocol? And that person will be there saying yes or no, they did not. I kept telling them to stop and they kept escalating. They had an opportunity to de-escalate. They chose not to. Then the police officer was responsible for his or her actions because a professional was there. A professional tried to intervene and they ignored the professional to do it their own way and someone ended up hurt. Police officer's responsible. He doesn't have any, is my word against the criminal that I made a criminal but really wasn't a criminal until I fucked up. Which this public safety person would be there like, they were having a mental breakdown. Officer acted irrational. Patient ended up unalived. From my perspective as a professional, it was the police officer's fault. Now the dead has somebody to speak for them that was there. And not somebody who works for the police force so that you're sitting here in bed with them. You're the total like antithesis of that. You're an organization that's supposed to be holding them responsible. See, that right there is not defunding the police. It's holding them responsible for their actions. And the police force does not want that. Right? All right. One of the things I wanted to know what I was thinking about today, because again, that guy's a Democrat, calls himself a Democratic socialist. I'm not really into terms so much. I'm sick of them, to be quite honest. But uh, you have to classify yourself as something to kind of like know what group you fit in. But for me, it's like a smorgasbord of a dim. You know what I'm saying? I have ideals that run the gamut in the Democrat Party under that tent. I got liberal thought processes. I've got progressive thought processes. And then I just got things of my own as just being a creative Democrat. It's like, look, we have to come up with creative ideas. We can't keep rehashing the old ones over and over again. It's like that famous quote of if you keep doing the same things and accepting a different outcome is like the pure definition of insanity. And that's what I see with these parties. They keep doing the same thing. The Republicans keep on fucking trying uh, uh, trickle down economics and expecting it to work. It never does. And they get all in on it too. Oh, let's do it every time. You're like, dude, are you slow? Are you remedial? It's the same shit. You named it something else, but it's the same shit. Big, beautiful bill, whatever you want to call it. Trickle down has never worked. And we keep on doing it. It's like living with a bunch of slow people. It's like, what the fuck is your problem? Wake the fuck up. And then Democrats keep on doing the same thing and think that they can just nice their way through shit. They can be just the middle person on everything. And it's like, fine, but there is no middle ground on equal rights. You either have it or you don't. There is no middle ground on, trans rights. You either have it or you don't. I mean, what's the middle ground? Things you need to fight for, you need to fight for. Fuck all this. Well, we ain't coming to no agreement. You either want it or you don't. And if you don't want it, then you get voted out. There's no I ain't talking about like voted out of the Democrat Party. I'm talking about like you get voted down. It's like if the majority of the people don't have a problem with it, we should not be listening to the minority sitting here telling us what they like. If you don't like it, don't move around them. Don't talk to them. Move your life. They are not gonna miss life if you don't talk to them. Just like you ain't gonna miss out on life if they don't talk to you. Keep it moving. If you don't like them, keep it moving. It's a free country. If you don't like seeing them, turn your ass around when you see them. Problem solved. Problem solved. But no, you want to have control over people. You should only have control over yourself. And society should make rules based upon the majority, not the minority. The minority can do whatever they want, but they should not be able to rule over the majority and say, oh, I believe that this should happen. Well, what does the majority of us think? Oh, well, we think this thing. Oh, so the minority gets to rule us. No. Nope. That shit should be done with. That shit should be done with. I believe. So when we're talking about parties, I started to pay attention recently, even though it's been, the past year or two, ever since Donald Trump's first foray at trying to be a president and failed at it. But I noticed how MAGA Republicans, once they expose Donald Trump for the type of person he really is, they fell to the wayside. You got his sidekick, the dude who used to do whatever, what's his name, Michael something. Once he came out and told the truth, you know what I'm saying, and got his own podcast. He went to jail for a minute, and Donald Trump was bullying him for a minute. You got all these other Republicans, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and all these other people. These are the same people. No disrespect, but just reality, just facts. These Republicans who tucked tail eventually and jumped out of the party and said, I'm no longer a Republican, I'm an independent. And then you got these far left Democrats that Michael Cohen, thank you, Learning. You got these far left Democrats who were are basically saying that because of what happened in Palestine and Israel, they can't vote for Kamala Harris and the no vote party and shit like that, and all this insane bullshit that ended up allowing this dipshit to win the office for a lot of them doing that. A lot of them were like, I'm leaving the Democratic Party and I'm going to be an independent. I'm like, okay, wonderful. So you're no longer a Democrat, you're independent now. All right. And then the people whom they loved as independents, they fucking disappear after every election. What happened to that pot smoking lady that was running for president? One that popped up and was talking about she going, 420 and all this shit. There was a little ragged white woman. She looked like she had been through the rent cycle one too many times. That lady. Where's she at? Not a fucking peep out of her. What about the other one that was hanging out with Putin? That one. Where the fuck is she at? Ain't nowhere to be found. Every time the Democrats run for something, they pop their ass all up and divide the party up so that the Republicans can win. And all they do is cite every time, oh, we're going to give you liberals everything you want, and this, that, and the third. And these dumbass liberals just go run into them like, oh, well, I don't like the Democrats. And then say that they're an independent. I'm like, wow, okay. All right. So I wanted to ask you guys, truthfully, what is an independent? I mean, no disrespect to people. Jill Stein, thank you. But what is an independent? What policies do they believe in? It's going to be hard for you to answer that question. Take care, Woke Mike. It's going to be hard for you to answer that question, what an independent is, because they really don't have any policies they all agree upon. A party that has far left-leaning people that would vote for Kamala and far-right people like Liz Cheney, who said they also would vote for Kamala, don't have anything in common other than voting for Kamala or voting for a independent person like the other people that we mentioned. They have nothing in common. How, if we ever elected an independent, would we have anything as Americans? You got Bernie Sanders, who's been an independent forever, but he says that he's like a democratic socialist, but an independent. That don't even make sense. In a party, you are so split when it comes to independence. It's so split. They have no argument but to hate the other parties. So, okay, I get you. I got disdain for both of them in many ways myself. So what is your policy? And you find out they don't have one. Not collectively. What do they believe in? Ask a independent, what does their party believe in? Do they believe in Bernie Sanders independent? Are they a Liz Cheney independent? Because those are vastly different. Vastly different. Possum of Antica says socialism. And this person says that they are an independent. But independents are not socialists. Not at all. Are you trying to tell me that Liz Cheney is a socialist? She voted 97, I believe, 98, somewhere, alongside Donald Trump. January 6th was the straw that broke the camel's back for her. Do you understand all the crap that Donald Trump did that was basically anti-American, anti-everything, anti-fiscal conservativeness? Under his reign, those 4 years he was before, he amassed more debt than any other president in American history, and Liz Cheney voted alongside every policy he wanted, 90 something, 97, 98%. All the crap he did, the straw that broke the camel's back was the insurrection. He had already lost by then. 4 years, she did not. Like, oh, he's got to leave. She had a chance to vote this man out of presidency. Now, I don't know what her vote was, but the reality is she didn't get all the people on her side to say, yay, get him out. So she does not have the same ideologies. That's what I'm trying to say. In the independent party, you got to range from socialism to so far right that it is Trump minus 2%. So myself thinking like, I don't understand where I fit. Because at one point I said, you know what, I'm getting tired. I would never be a Republican because they don't believe in anything except for money and power and control over people and hatred. I don't want that at all. It can never be in my spirit. Democrats, it's a big party tent. And I had to understand more about Democrats. And when I started to learn more about them, in that there's so many things under a Democrat tent that it's not just a Democrat. You have a section of Democrats. Like Republicans had the Tea Party Democrats. There's a section of Democrats. Each section, which one do you fit in, right? So I had to look at what they all were to see exactly where I fit amongst all these different terms, because these terms have been clarified or classified by Republicans and some mainstream Democrats as like horrible, like they're extreme, like too far out. You had the far right of like Republicans are MAGA, and these people are racist as I don't know what. They want to go back to 1700s, right? They want to put people in cages for no fucking reason. That's going back to enslavement days. That's how far right the Republican Party is. And they compare them the same. You got the far left. What do they want? Free health care for everybody. Say what? So the far right, they want to love on people and make sure that they're healthy and that people don't get to see their grandma or brother or daughter just die because it ain't enough money to pay for their operation. You mean that's extreme to you? But want to enslave people because they don't look white enough for you. Those extremes are the exact same. How in the fuck? The extreme of putting people in behind cages like wild animals and risk of death because alligators and boa constrictors and shit is out there, and you don't have any running toilet or water out in this bitch. That is the same as people wanting health care for all. Say what? That is insane to say that those two are the same. And you get Democrats. I mean, regular Democrats, even like, Hakeem Jeffries or Charles Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, just letting that fly. Yeah, there are some extreme leftists and blah, 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 blah. What is the extreme leftist? And they never ask that question on these damn news shows. Why are you calling them extreme? Because they want health care for everybody. That's extreme? You can have health care for everybody for the price of at least, 2 planes and about 35 bombs. Health care for all, every year. Make 35 less bombs and $2 trillion planes and shit. Get rid of them, and you got health care for all, and somehow it can't be done. That's extreme. That's got to be the dumbest thing I ever heard. It's extreme, but you don't think it's extreme to load up warehouses with bombs you ain't gonna ever fucking use? Got a whole warehouse throughout the United States filled with bombs and planes. You know, we made a plane. A couple of them, whatever, had a contract for $2 trillion for a plane. They retired that bitch before it ever flew. $2 trillion down the trash. Down the trash, 2 trillion, and started up another plane. And no big deal. We could do it. But when you talk about, hey, what about we take care of the American people, spend that $2 trillion on healthcare? And that wasn't the only plane they was building. That was just one of their plane programs out of many. We got enough space to increase our military every fucking year. A Republican gets in, increase our military just astronomically. We got billions upon billions of dollars, somewhere tune of like 50 something billion or more, just to start in other places, like just to increase ICE. ICE is going to be the largest like policing force in the United States history. You're going to hire that many ICE people, but you can't put that money toward health care for all so that we can keep our citizens alive and well. Even with basic health care, they can start paying for just operation health care or something. Just something that simple is possible, easily possible. But they keep lying to you and saying, oh, it's going to cost too much. It's not feasible. It's bullshit. And Americans need to hold them to it. So when you come to the fact of, like I was saying about independence, I try to determine where I'm at, where I fit. And I don't fit because independents don't have a plan, a strategy. They have a bunch of people who have, I would liken, and no disrespect to people with independence, but you kind of agree what I'm saying is that we're it's like an island. You know how the movie or it's a movie about it. I'm trying to remember what the name of the movie is, but it's more about the cartoon when he was a kid, the Christmas cartoon, the Island of Misfit Toys. The Independent Party is like an island of misfit, like Republicans, Democrats. You don't fit in the party, and therefore you jump into another party where you definitely don't fit because there's nothing you guys can agree upon. You're just pissed off at the other party for not living up to its morals or what it's supposed to be. So the moment these parties start to go back to where you want them to be, you would jump out of independence and jump into the Democratic Party again under a progressive, or under whatever, right? And or either if you had the money, you would start something new that represented what you really believed in and really fought for what you believed in. But again, I feel that same way. I'm like a person who's looking for a party that believes what I believe for the most part and fights what I believe, not just believes it, but actually wants to fight for it, right? Raise money for it, change the world because of it. So these are the things, and I'm gonna go through some real quick. The things that I think as a party that I myself would want to be in. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at these parties and what, let's say, the difference between, let's say, like a Democrat, like a pragmatist, I guess, what they believe in. Like let's say policy wise, this is what the Democrat Party typically support. All right. A mixed economy, capitalism with social safety nets. 2 would be expanding access to health care, though not always through universal models. So this is just the tent of Democrats. This is not separating them into their individual sections. It's saying, because when you think about it, Democrat is a party. A democratic socialist is an ideology based on the party, but your own ideals, tenets that you believe in. So the Democrat is the actual shell. All the other people, what they believe in, separate up under that shell. So this is just a basic, like policy-wise, what a Democrat believes in. And it's a mixed economy, expanding access through healthcare, uh, though not universal models. Climate action, though often in partnership with corporations. Uh, Tax reform, but rarely wealth taxes or dramatic distribution. This is just a Democrat, you know, generic. And incremental change over revolutionary leaps. So many of us who have been Democrats our entire lives notice those kind of strategies. And we know that none of them really kind of work. We know that every time a Republican gets in or a Democrat gets in, they work better than the Democrats. So, I mean, the Republicans, they work better than the Republican ideology, right? Democrats automatically, their thing, year after year after year, is create programs to help them budget and pay for themselves, but they benefit the people as well as billionaires, but benefit the people in certain programs. They try to expand the ones that work and close down the ones that don't, but they try to do investigations about what does work and what doesn't. You're not going to get people happy at all in every aspect, because it's going to be working for like a million people, but for 70 million people it's not working. So you still got to close it and have a million people pissed, but then you reopen it where you can have something that 5 million people can get on, and that'll make it better. Just like creating the ACA, it started out with people like saying that it's going to cost so much money, it's going to be expensive, and it's not going to work. The system crashed when it first started, so Republicans was all on it. Like, look at it, it crashes, it's not working. I'm like, it's crashing because a shit ton of Americans are going onto the site that they didn't expect. The entire country was going to open up this app, which they should have, but they didn't, and it crashed. But soon after, it was brought back up, and there was something that was revolutionary. We've been wanting it forever. For at least 50 years, and this man brought it. Progressive idea that worked, and it was funding itself. Over 40 million people ended up getting on it, which they said it would never work, and it did. And been trying to destroy it ever since. And the big beautiful bill they just passed is part of trying their destruction of destroying it, because it's going to take billions of dollars out of the system, right? Hundreds of billions. And that people thought was just going to affect Medicare, Medicaid. It's not going to affect ACA. It does. It affects ACA as well. So people who have ACA and you have a subsidy, whereas now your insurance is $150, and you got the same insurance you had before when you was paying back in the day $450. So you're saving like $300 to $500, whatever it may be. Now that this thing is passed, and once it's enacted in 2026, your $150, and not everybody, is just going to incrementally start hitting people. Your $150, your whatever stipend or subsidy is going to be gone, and therefore your insurance is going to go from $150 to $650 or $850. And those of you who pay that are not in the ACA system, the reality is that now that this system's set up the way it's going to be, your premiums that you had, that you was paying on your own because you make enough money, you're paying with your job, whatever, $1,000 for you, your wife, and one of your kid, and your one kid, that shit's gonna scoot up too, because you're gonna have to pay for those who are no longer on insurance now. When they don't have insurance, you think it's just gonna be freed up? No, these people are gonna go to ER, price is gonna go up, and so will yours, and it will be adjusted, and your whatever it is that you do is gonna cost much more. Your premiums are going to go up. Your copay is going to go up. And so you're going to be like, what the fuck? Now I got to spend, $10,000 before my insurance kicks in, when it used to be, $3,000 or whatever. That's because of the way they set this system up. So when you look at all the things that Democrats on the regular level believe in, as far as like the actual tent of Democrats, now break it down to the philosophies of each individual fraction of the Democrat Party, being the liberals, being the first thing. The philosophy they have is personal freedom, right? It's an ideology. It's not a party. Democrat is a party. The ideology is liberalism. And what they're talking about, their policies, are civil liberties, and individual rights, free speech and religious freedom, anti-discrimination laws, regulated capitalism, but with faith that markets can be ethical with oversight, moderate reforms, not system overhaul. So they want to reform stuff and not, blow up the system. Now, if you listen to a Republican talk about a liberal wants to blow up the system. But see, liberals literally on their privacy, on their policy form. Now I don't know about individually what you believe, but as a ideology, they believe that it's moderate reforms, not system overhauls. Didn't know that about liberals, did you? But you get Republicans always liberal, 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 liberal. They're conflating liberal with progressives. Well, we'll learn what they do here in a minute, what they believe in. So modern day liberals support things like Obamacare, but not Medicare for all. Higher education access, but not necessarily free college either. Environmental regulations, but through carbon markets and incentives, not bans. So environmental regulations, you got that, and police reform, but not abolition. So they reform the police, but they don't want to get rid of police departments. That's what a liberal believes. But if you listen to a Republican tell you what a liberal is, that is not it. Now, let's get into what the progressives are thought to be. This is what they believe to be, not what they're thought to be. It's like a movement for structural change, a progressive. Now, progressivism is a fierce response to injustice, and it's born out of belief that systems are not just flawed; they are designed to serve the powerful at the expense of the rest of us. It's less about making a system work better and more about making a new system altogether. I am more of a progressive, right? Even though I have liberal tendencies. Okay. Now, but there's not everything I believe in the progressive world either. But we'll deal with that. Progressive policies, now they go deeper and they go a little bit further than the liberal. It says they want Medicare for all, not just affordable care, right? And I'm more like I want Medicare or insurance for everybody, and I'm cool with going halfway of having a preventative maintenance and where you just go every year and get checked and things like that. That should be free for all of us, and then have a different tier. But if we could get Medicare for all, I would not be against it if it's paid for. I have no problem doing it. They want the Green New Deal, which is not just carbon offsets, and we'll go a little bit here in a second. They want to abolish ICE, not just immigration reform. So they want to get rid of ICE. Now, I don't know if they have an immigration policy they believe in. Like, again, for me, I want to have an immigration policy. I don't understand the abolition of ICE, even though the way they've been acting now, oh yeah, get rid of them. Don't make them bigger. Get rid of them, because the way they're doing things, I'm not for it. Not at all. But I would want to know what progressives who are staunch progressives, because I'm new to this, what do they believe should be in its place? It doesn't say. Wealth taxes and universal basic income, not just tax credits. I think we can come up with a creative way for taxes than just to abruptly disassemble what we already have. We can make things work better, but that's their policy, progressive, which that's what they believe in. And I would have to say I'm a form of this, but I'm not fully behind it 100%, because again, it's not fully clear what they're saying. It sounds very aggressive, but it also sounds like you're destroying something without placing something in its place. So it's like, I'm not understanding that. And I'm going to go ahead and talk to some more progressives to find out more about that. They want tuition-free public college and student debt cancellation. I'm fine with that. We got to have an incentive for our people to get smarter than a sixth grade level. If we're worried about the fact that economics isn't changing, we're not forcing change by making sure that our people read and also comprehend on average above sixth grade. It's just something that we have to do, because otherwise people from other countries are going to migrate here, and this is what they're all pissed off about, and get better jobs than us. Well, I'm sorry, if the average American in this country, with the 300 something million that we have, the average American out of 300 something million literally reads at a sixth grade level, I'm sorry, you can't be pissed off at the people coming from other countries that actually speak at college levels, read at college levels, and think at college levels, therefore creating programs that we don't even think about, that therefore doing things that we don't do, right? But not to say that we aren't creative in this country. It's just saying that things that need higher education, if we want Americans to have those jobs, we need to make sure they have the education to do so. We need to invest in education, not close it down. That's what I believe. A livable wage, $25 to $30 minimum wage, not incremental bumps. This goes to Mamdani, so he must be a progressive, because that's his number, $30, I think, a minimum wage by 2030 or something like that. It says housing as a right, not a commodity. And again, I'm not sure in the depth of that. I think everybody should have housing. But what are they saying? It's not as a commodity. That houses aren't paid for. That you don't buy a house. The house is just, oh, I want that one, and you live in it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They don't clarify it so much, and I got to get deeper into that myself. But I am a very logical person. I'm like, look, we can have an economy that's ethical, in which we sell. You have supply and demand. That's just, for me. That's just cool. I'm cool with that. Supply and demand, and being able to have a fair wage and fair prices for things and no gouging, I think we can get along in this country very well. But when you got people that are always trying to F over people, and and then society gets us, and people got to take responsibility for themselves, but based on societal pressures and things of that nature, and people succumb to them often, it's like the pressures of trying to be or keeping up so much with the Joneses has people overspending, has people competing for no reason, and it creates this world of dog eat dog, where everybody has to F people over to get ahead. And it's like, boo, you do not. You don't want the same things I want. And the only reason you want some of the things I have is because society has told you what I have is better than what you have. Everybody has their own perspective on things. I got clothes that don't have names on them, and I love them. I ain't got no attachment to nobody's brand but my own. I'm more attached to stuff that I create than I am to anything else. Why? Because those brands don't do anything for me. I don't have to compete or compare with no other human. You can ride around in a Bugatti, and I could be in an Uber, and I'm happy. You are not better or worse off than me, and it's only in the mind that you think that you are. If anything, these people are spending money and in debt more than they actually have money. Their perception is more important than their real life. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I'm spending $1 million for a vehicle that costs $100,000 to change a tire. Why would I want that? Just to be wasting money and to prove something to somebody? Who I'm proving to? Most of the time you buy yourself. And most of the time nobody cares you got $1 million car. The only people who care are poor people. And how often are rich people in poor neighborhoods? Never. And so who are you competing with? Your neighbors can afford that exact same car. It's all a facade. It's all a facade. It means nothing. So for us to care about one another, that to me is more important than us to ride around in the most expensive car. Now, I have no problem with billionaires, and that's one thing that I'm not. I'm not a part of that progressive mentality where we should never have billionaires and things like that. Nah. I believe that anybody who works hard enough should be able to get what it. I mean, how would you even regulate that? Oh, I got a business and I'm selling stuff at like $10 a pop and it's really cheap, and I got a gazillion people buying it all over the world. Now I'm a billionaire. Oh, okay, we got to limit you. You can't be a billionaire, so you can't sell no more products. The fuck is that? Don't make any sense. So I don't even understand that ideology for the progressives. Like the billionaires should not exist. How can you stop it? You're gonna tell somebody that you made enough money, you right at 999 million and 999,999 dollars. You got to stop making profit. That's it. Or after you get to the billion, you got to give it away. I mean, come on. It's more of a situation for me to say, um, it's inevitable that we're going to make billionaires, but let's make conscious billionaires. Meaning like those brands and those people who profess and talk about helping and in creating better lives for people, help them become billionaires, because they're going to be the ones they're going to create a shit ton of millionaires and a shit ton of 100,000aires, because their goal is not to hoard the wealth, but to share it. Those are the people who help you achieve your dreams. And there's no reason that people shouldn't be trying to do that. If you got a billion, you should be blessing the world. You shouldn't be hoarding it. It just makes no sense at all, right? So that's what I look at. And that's why I say not to hinder people from being all they created to be, if they're really good at making money. But after you get it, what are you doing with it? You know what I mean? What is it useful for? And this is the progressive, much higher. Oh yeah, this is the progressive also thought process. They believe in healthcare isn't a product. Okay, billionaires shouldn't exist in a nation with starving children. And I believe to whom much is given, much is expected. And I believe billionaires, their sole goal should be, not sole goal, but one of their major goals should be able to help the poor, not make fun of them or do anything like that. To whom much is given, much is expected. They should be creating programs that get the poor off the street. They get the poor from being poor to middle class to wealth. Because you got to think about it. If you are let's say you are a greedy human being, right? And you just want to make as much fucking money as possible. And not saying that, there's something wrong with that. It's something wrong with just not helping and hoarding money, I believe. But if that's what you want, is to make more money, would you make more money leaving people on the street that could be helping them make money, which they help you make money? So if you're really talking about like help, if you're really talking about like, oh, I like making money and this greedy person and like Mr. Wonderful and Damon John and all them and all of those billionaires on the Shark Tank, think about it for a second. If you created opportunities for people who are poor to rise up and start working for you in a company or an industry, that you taught them how to do stuff, they're going to learn how to do things, get off of substances, have a better quality of life, be able to work for your company and have somebody who really gives a damn about them while they're making products and getting paid a nice wage. You could make money off of them for working, buying property near the community for them living. You can make money and not gouge people and do right by people, and you're going to grow your wealth. But at the same time, you're investing in the people who are helping you grow your wealth. Why would you focus on effing those people over and not helping them? Why would you not want to help people and just talk about poor people badly and then go to other people and make them rich that don't care about anybody else but just being rich? Why would you do that? Because to me, it sounds like you're more about classism than you are just being wealthy. You want both. You want to be wealthy, but excluded from everybody else. I don't want to be amongst them. Not them. But them are the people that you want to serve your food. Them are the people that you want to clean your Bugatti. Them are the ones who are keeping your yard in shape, but you don't want to be around them. You'd rather be around rich people who care less about anybody but themselves. Well, I'm sorry. I'd rather be that person that cares about everybody, that comes across my path and teach any and everybody my strategies to get where I'm at, than to sit around and like, I'm better than you. And no, you can easily do what I do or whatever. Just add yourself to whatever it is I'm doing and boom. You know what I mean? That to me would be like the life. And that's what I think we need to be working toward instead of like the opposite way around. Also, progressives believe that Black lives should matter without negotiation. I agree with that. Um, so, what I realize as a Democrat, and I don't know where you are as a Democrat, is that I'm more of a progressive that leans, I don't know what it is. I'm going to do more research on it, but I just don't believe in certain extremes of the progressive party, but I'm more of a progressive. I mean, I don't mind being billionaires, but I want them to be, um, you know, conscious billionaires that care. And that's possible because I would be one. It's just that I'm not one, but I would be one if it ever happened for me. So I know that if I can do it, anybody could, right? Um, so what? Who said this? Fact check. Then you actually voted for Trump. I didn't vote for no Trump. You talking to me? What are you talking about? Oh, fact check. Oh, see, I did not vote for Kamala because, oh, my bad. I understand Swift terms. My bad. That's my fault. I did not vote for Kamala because she said she wouldn't do anything specifically for black people. I did not vote Trump either. I won't vote for the facade of politics. Both are part of the, what's the WS system? I don't know what that is. White supremacy system, I guess. Yeah, I mean, to each his own, man. I look at it like this. Um, for me, like I said, I'm more of a progressive that I've noticed based off of what I know now, what they believe in. Um, but I'm not full on. You know what I mean? I don't believe in everything they believe in. Uh, or better yet, I don't know fully their policies and the things they believe in. Like, how would they replace, immigration reform if they got rid of any kind of agency that would actually um, enforce it? And how would they enforce it? What do they plan to enforce it? Uh, any way, shape, or form, right? Um, how would they uh, exclude billionaires in the country? And why? What is their real problem with billionaires? You know what I'm saying? And I understand the greed and all that, but if you had somebody who was a conscious billionaire that cared about people and was always making more and more millionaires because of the fact that they're teaching people what they're doing even for free, uh, I just think what people have gotten used to billionaires being, they hate that, and I agree. I agree with that 100%. But I think that instead of just cutting it out altogether, we have the power to create the type of billionaires that we see as worthy of being billionaires, to whom much is given, much is expected. But when you say, that I understand that you didn't want to vote for either party, and I get that. People have problems with Kamala Harris and certain aspects of it, but you have a right to do what you want. But for me, I voted for what, again, somebody's going to run our country. And it comes a point where when somebody is saying 75% of what you believe in and 25% that you don't, and another person is speaking 99.9% of what you don't want, you're telling me you're going to allow the 99% to win just because you got 25% something wrong with the other person? That to me, again, this is your life. You choose what's going to happen to you. This is what happened when people of color decided not to vote, and people of color, depending on whether it was Latin, whatever, black or Cuban, whatever it may be, decided to vote for Trump. After listening to what this man said he was going to do, the people, after listening to this man say that Latin people are mostly rapists, killers, and some of them are good people, possibly. He was like shrugging, like maybe some of you are good. Tell me how many times you think an orange white man knows the difference between a Cuban that speaks Spanish to a Mexican that speaks Spanish, to somebody who's from whatever country that speaks Spanish. Tell me how many racist white men know the difference when they see you. They don't. You are the same. And so having the ideology, not saying you, whoever this was, having the ideology that I'm not going to vote because one or two things that a person says I don't like, yet those 75% I do, that's resigning yourself to being put in a prison. How many of you think of these Latin men and women that are in detention centers right now wish they had voted for Kamala? I guarantee you most of them do, because they know damn well they wouldn't be there if that black woman was leading this country. They'd be at home eating whatever the fuck they eat with their family, hugging their babies, sitting on the corner, drinking a brew, talking about the sun and everything. Right now, they probably bent over somewhere hoping somebody doesn't stick them. Scared to drop the soap. People speaking a language that they don't even speak, even though they're similar, they're Latin. It's not the same dialect as Spanish. You're telling me they'd rather have that? No, they would not. They would have voted the other way. See, sometimes these votes are consequences. You got to understand, because you didn't vote, and not just you, millions of people like you did not vote. People in this country are going through what they're going through. Sometimes you have to sacrifice and fight for others, even though it may not be always in your best interest. I don't see anything that Kamala Harris was pushing that wouldn't be in anybody's interest. She said she didn't know what she would do that was different than Joe Biden. Well, they had a successful run. The only reason why you don't think it wasn't successful is because you listened to Trump and his minions. What else wasn't successful? Or you listen to the far left saying, "Oh, there's killing people in Gaza." And what was Donald Trump saying? That he wanted to turn Gaza into a fucking hotel, which literally meant he had to kill all of them to do it. They weren't about to leave their land and let this fool put a hotel on their property. He literally had to tell y'all inadvertently that he'd rather them all die, and he put up a Trump hotel. And these far leftists was like, well, Kamala this and Kamala that. What was this dude saying? He's going to kill them all. You want to save them, right? Yeah, You want the war to end, right? Yeah, Has the war ended? Nope. Did Kamala Harris ever say she was going to put something on the property of these people? Nope. What she said exactly is she wanted them to have a two-party state in the future. Something that Netanyahu doesn't want, something that Donald Trump definitely doesn't want, something that Palestinians in Gaza want. So she said she wants the same thing that Palestinians want. But you get people focusing, wanting all or nothing. And then when you find out that the person you allowed to become president was the nothing or nothing president, now what? Half those people, you don't hear them speaking at all about these people dying anymore. It's not on my timeline anymore. Before I had watermelon and Palestinians and Gaza and stop the killing on my timeline. Every fucking 5 seconds, it was somebody talking about it. Liberals talking about it. The far liberal, like, oh, this and don't do this and don't do it, over and over and over and over again. And then Donald Trump allowed them to just continue killing these people like crazy. They just bombed them here recently while they was trying to get food. Just open fired on them. Where are these people who were talking about, oh, Kamala this and Kamala that? Where you at? Why ain't you going at Trump's neck like you was going at hers? Where you at? Why ain't you going at his neck right now? That these Gazans, or I think that's how you say it, what they're particularly from, but they're from Gaza. But Palestinians, these people in Palestine, they're literally trying to get food. They're starving. And Israelis is open fired on people just trying to get food. Where are you liberals that said don't vote for Kamala because she's not ending the war fast enough, yet she was speaking about she wants to end the war? Donald Trump never said he wanted to end the war. He said, I'll end it the day I start. Did he end it? Just the idea of saying that told me that people didn't understand. Like I said, people read at a 6th grade level. They can't comprehend. They believe shit being slogans. I'll end it in 24 hours. Never mind the fact, like, how? How would you do that? What's your policy? Oh, I got concepts of a policy. Oh, really? What's a concept? Tell me what the strategy is. Oh, they'll get it because they're just scared of a little orange ass. No. What's the reason and what's the policy? He had none. And he has none till today. And did he come out and speak about these Palestinians getting food, being shot at and run around right now? Did he say anything about how he's going to stop that? Did he say anything in the news today about that was wrong? It should have never happened. No, he was signing a big, beautiful bill and didn't say shit about it. See what I mean? Sometimes you don't, not all people here, but I'm talking about the people who did not vote. You have to look down the road and realize if you do not vote, who are you giving power to? Because you just gave away your power. You have no power now. You can complain all you want, but you're part of the problem, not the solution. Standing out of a fight does not, it's like, think about it this way. If me and let's say I'm a Democrat and there's a Republican and there's an enemy, right? And this enemy is putting a threat to American citizens. And if I get in the fight and the Republican gets in the fight and we go out there and fight, and let's say we win as a group, a collective, you set your ass back there and didn't do nothing. And yet you get the accolades and shit, but you weren't a part of the fight. Why should you get a part of the spoils? We should split this country up that we just just beat and take the oil, and amongst the people who actually fought, they should get the rewards. You shouldn't get the damn thing because you didn't participate. You should stay poor while we get rich, taking the land, the oil, the money, the food. You should starve. Why the hell should you get a piece if you're not fighting with us? And so because of the way this country runs and people think that it's just that I should just get the spoils from everybody else's hard work, you should not. I mean, if I was going to add something to the party, I would add, if you do not vote, you do not get the spoils of the country. So if we put in so much money and we vote and this president gets in and say he wants to get taxes back to the people, if you didn't vote, you shouldn't get a dime. You shouldn't get a penny. Even though you threw money in, you didn't participate in how the country's going to run. You don't deserve a dime from it. Because you're not going to get into the fight. You should not get a piece of the pie. That's what I would throw in if I was a part of devising a party or devising the way this country works. Because if you're not going to participate, you don't deserve a piece of its freedoms. You're going to sit out and cry about this. That's you better pick a plan or pick a row and get it moving. But if you're going to get it, how do you complain about shit that you were a part of? You don't fight, we lose, and you pissed off, we lost. Well, we needed you to be on the team. We might have won if you came on our side. You can't complain about bills being higher when you were part of the problem, the reason why we getting it high. This big, beautiful bill is passing because so many passive people chose not to vote. So money's coming out of everybody's pocket because you sat on your ass thinking like, oh, well, they didn't give me 100% of what I want, so I'm jumping out of the system. I'd rather have $75 than zero. So if a person I believe in has 75% of what I want, I'm voting for that one when the other one's got 1% of what I want. You got to get into the game and fight it. You can't be fighting on the outside saying, well, I'll just take whatever you guys give me. You ain't going to like that. It's the wrong way to think about a country that you say you love. You don't give a damn how it's treated. I understand black people where we've been through, no matter how much we vote for things, it always appears that we get the short end of the stick. But if we don't vote, trust me, we ain't even gonna get a piece of the stick. Let this country be devised just by the people who are I put it this way. The black people, I understand how you'd be upset. I want to tell you this real quick. If black people in this country just stop voting altogether, do you understand how fucked your life would be? They listen to us, not all of them, but they listen to us because we are learning about this country more so than anybody else. And when there's, 50% or 40 some percent of them, they're listening to us. But without us voting and that 40% goes away, they ain't listening to us. Trust me. They'll be on the side of them, and everything that you hold holy will be very fucked for you real quick. Keep believing that your vote doesn't count. And when it finally doesn't count, you're going to notice the dramatic difference when it doesn't count at all. Then you're going to wish you were getting a part of the system. Our ancestors did not fight to get a part of the system because it didn't work. They got a piece of the system because they knew it would work. Going at a snail's pace is way better than going backwards. And you can't go faster than a snail unless you get everybody involved. That's the way I look at it. We get everybody involved, we make better decisions because it is my belief that the majority of Americans want what's best for all of us. But we can't get a majority of the Americans to vote. I promise you, if every American that can vote in this country was forced to vote, instead of sitting out and protesting all that shit like that, if you was forced to give a vote for the things you believe in, this country would be a better country a lot faster. But too many of you have been infected with the idea that your vote doesn't count. Too many of you have been infected with the idea that nothing's going to matter. And you've never given it a chance that if you all voted for what you truly believed in, this country would probably move faster toward a progressive look than average. The people who care about this country going backwards care more about it because they get their ass out and vote every time. Talk about you can't win. How can you win when the majority of Americans are sitting on their ass when they should be fighting for something? That's the way I look at it. If you're not fighting for something, then you just resign to quitting. And if you're a quitter, you can't complain about your life not getting better. That's the way I look at it. I mean, I vote, and I vote more so than I used to. Um, I wasn't connected as much as I should have been throughout my life because I did have those types of ideologies. I always voted, but not always for everything. I wasn't voting for dog catcher and all this stuff like that. I was voting for the major things. And now every vote I can possibly get into, I vote because I want to know that I'm leaving a better country behind for those that or for those that I love and care about. And that's not just my family. It's people I meet on TikTok, YouTube, in the streets, people I live around, neighbors. We all want a life mostly that we can have opportunities to like obtain what each one of us determines to be the American dream. And when you get down to like the generics of the American dream, is being able to have a job, not shit ton of jobs, but a job or career that could pay for your lifestyle so that you only have to have one and not 50 and be able to have whatever it is you want. If you want to have a loft in downtown LA, Chicago, New York, whatever it is, apartment, house, you should be able to, through hard work, dedication, save money to the side, get good credit, get a house or apartment or condo, pay monthly, still have the job that you love and care about, and not have to stress to live check to check. The only reason Americans in this country are living check to check now is because the jobs aren't living wage jobs. The average job is paying people $15 an hour, $50,000 a year, less than $100,000 a year. When the homes in your community are, $700,000, $800,000, you're never getting that home. The majority of you can't get a home. But getting an apartment or townhome or whatever it may be is possible, but it's much harder because you got to have 2 and 3 jobs. So we have to figure out a way to go back to having that one or a 1.5 jobs to get by. And how do we do that? First of all, the reason why we're not that way is because the industries in which created that lifestyle, rich people let go. So what we have to do is create industries in this country to be able to get that back. And we don't need billionaires to do it. We need to invest in each other's ideas and ideologies of how to raise funding, buying whatever the hell it is, reinventing new shit. And therefore we can be able to create opportunities for ourselves and wealth for ourselves. But to continue doing the system the way it's always been, you're just creating billionaires who don't care. So that's my vision of how we got to change the world. Simple as that. Fact check: why reparation for the Jews, Native Americans, and Armenian, but none for foundational Black Americans? Racism. That's the reason why. I mean, even people who say they aren't racist, they still give you a racist ideology of why not to do it. Like the main argument from anybody who doesn't want it to happen is, were you a slave? I'm like, no. What, are you ancestors of slaves? I'm like, yeah, I'm an ancestor of enslaved people. Yep. Mm-hmm. Were you affected by that personally? Yeah. How? Well, my family was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. They never got it. That's how wealth was created in this country, is by having property and property values growing and being able to pass it down from generation to generation to generation. So my family would have probably had 40 acres still, or maybe sold some of it and made some money, but we never know. But the reality is they never got that opportunity. And therefore the reparations that they gave to slave owners back then, they gave them because they lost property, but they didn't give any to the property that lost everything and still couldn't make a life for themselves. So yeah, I would probably have, and I have no doubt that I would have some kind of inheritance from my family who would have had 40 acres and this quote unquote mule that they probably would have turned into something. So yeah, we should get it. But then the idea is that when they say that, they'll continue down the path of, well, I didn't do it. I'm like, well, okay. But did you hear what I just said? That the people who were enslaved didn't get reparations, but was offered reparations at the beginning, but they reneged on it, but they gave the slave owner reparations, which to this day, some of those people still own and have the wealth from slavery that their parents passed down. They still have those plantations. Like one just burned down here recently. Those plantations are still owned mostly by those families, which means their wealth got passed on to them because those people are long dead. So that wealth is in their pocket. But the enslaved one, their wealth should be in their pocket, but it's not. But you justify giving money to the enslaver, but not the enslaved. And even though time has passed by, you have to understand that natives got reparations hundreds of years after they did. Asian people who were Chinese people who were here, and also the Japanese that was in internment camps, they got reparations many, many years after they did. Hitler, the people the Jewish people, they got paid reparations through Germany, and it just ended sometime 2020 or something like that, whatever the hell it is, their last paycheck. They've been getting it since 1945 until now. Reparations for the Jewish community that went through that. Yeah. So again, the answer is racism, because you can't say that, oh, I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm like, well, what's that got to do with anything? And what does time have to do with anything? So if you believe it's time, then we should go to those white families whose families got reparations back in 18 something, 65, whatever the hell it was. And they got all these thousands of dollars, totaling millions of dollars for the slaves they had, that continue to grow with interest all these years, and go collect a check from them and say, hey, look, that wealth that your parents got from that reparations of slavery back in the day, you weren't a slave, you weren't a slave owner. Then you shouldn't have the money that these slave people have. Give it back. You wouldn't want to do that, would you? Nope. Then what's your problem? You're pissed off that black people should deserve to get something because you think you deserve something too. And then also the other reason why I say it's racism is because of this. When you think about all these people who have received reparations, they don't have a problem with it. They never said nothing like they didn't deserve it. Give it back. Nothing. They don't talk about the fact that they're not even their great grandmother in 1938, 39, or no, 19 yeah, net two all the way up to 1968, because you also got to include 1945 right after the war. That's how they started creating wealth, by property. You listen to Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King said they gave the white peasants from other countries, immigrants, millions and millions of acres of land. And for some of them, they gave them a subsidy not to farm. And for 5 years of not farming on property that they were just given, that property was handed over to them, giving them and undergirding them with a foundation, an economic foundation to grow. Those people today have money because they were given something for free. And guess what? That came out of black dollars. We didn't get nothing out of it, yet white wealth was built on it. Our money was put into it, yet black people didn't get nothing from it. You don't have a problem with the housing industry, about how we built the suburbs in this country, which created the wealth for white people in this country. That's why we have a huge wealth gap. Not because one party was lazier than the other. It's because white people were given the opportunity. You can look at Levittown. Donald Trump talks about Levittown a lot too. But you can look at Levittown, one of the biggest development places that created the suburbs, right? The Color of Law, you can look at that book. They gave the suburbs were built on black dollars, white dollars, Latin dollars, but black people weren't allowed to participate. So when you look at the fact that black people helped fund white wealth in this country, but you didn't get a chance, we didn't get a chance to partake in it, that's reparations for you. You just got money that we had nothing to do with, but we paid for it. So why are you pissed? Why aren't you pissed off that anybody living in Levittown that's been there for the longest time, they got free shit that black people couldn't get, but they used black dollars, Latin dollars, Asian dollars, other white people who were poor's dollars to build their wealth and get these subsidies to buy homes that you weren't allowed to get, yet you put money into it. But when you say doing the same thing for black people, giving them money because of the reparations that they deserve, because you don't complain about the fact that the enslaved person deserved it. So if the enslaved person deserved it, then they should have passed it on to their family, which means we would still have that money, which would appreciate it. And a lot of us would be wealthier than we are, or at least have opportunities that we didn't have. So you're saying you don't have a problem with the enslaved people having it, but you got a problem with us having it because you don't want us to be propelled ahead of you with your dollars. But you had no problem that your parents and grandparents were propelled into their position of economics off the backs of black people who didn't get nothing. They just paid for your family to have money, have opportunity, have land. Go look back at history. I ain't making this shit up. The Color of Law. Go read the book. I know you had a 6th grade for some of these people, but go ahead and look it up and then get back at me. That's the reason why, sir or ma'am, whoever, everybody can tell you your name. Fact check. I can't tell if you're a man, a woman, whatever. But yeah, that's how that all happened. And so it is what it is. I do believe that descendants of slaves deserve reparations, just like I believe that the Jewish people deserve reparations from Germany. The only thing I don't believe people should have got reparations for, I don't think slave owners should have got reparations for losing slaves. That to me was just ridiculous. But I don't hear you pissed off at the fact that slave owners received cash to let us free because they lost free labor. After they made billions of dollars off of our free labor, you give them more money because they lost free labor. Racist argument, guys. Very racist. Uh, right. Most definitely. I'll read some of your comments. But that's about all I had today. I don't know where you guys fall into the party, but I'm more of a progressive. But I do think that we need to come up with creative solutions. Uh, for me, I think we need to like define what it is that we want and what we agree upon, and Americans should start fighting for them instead of just attaching on to one particular thing. Maybe it's attached to policy as opposed to party. I don't know, but I want to be creative and come up with things that we all can kind of like agree on or agree to disagree on, and not be so hateful toward one another. And I don't see that often in the Democrat Party, but I do see some of these Democrats, and I don't know all their names, but there were a few that said some disgusting things about Mamdani uh, and racist. And I think if somebody has thought it through, like Mamdani has, on how they can improve the lives of American citizens, at least in their city or state, um, and how it can be actually paid for, then what is your complaint? That people are getting health care? That we can pay for it? I mean, I don't understand the complaint. And that's where I also look at, it's like you have to look at who is funding these people for saying what they're saying. Because if you look at an ad of somebody who sounds good, I say dive deep into who paid for it. Because if it's a billionaire who paid for it that doesn't believe in the values you believe in, you might want to look the other way, or at least contact that person somehow and say, you know what, I like what you're saying, but I don't like the fact that you're beholden to this billionaire. If you drop him, you got my vote. But if you stick with him, I'm out. Because to me, politics has got to shift from billionaire to people. It's got to be people oriented. We got to get the black money out, um, and we have to get it people focused. And I'm saying, like, majority of people, there are going to be some policies that I don't like that people run on. Long as it's not something that is abhorrent, like they're running on policies to arrest Latin people for no fucking reason. Of course, I wouldn't vote for that. Even if it was a Democrat, I don't care who you are, I wouldn't vote for it. But yeah, progressive. And I'm gonna look deeper into it and see where I classify and start fighting those particular um, policies, fighting for those that I agree with, and being very aggressive toward my own party for things that I don't agree with. I don't want any party to think, and especially not to say any party, because I'm never going to be a Republican. There's no reason to even try to throw that leverage out. Um, but within the Democrat Party, I could easily shift from, saying I'm not going to support the party on this particular thing, and I support somebody else, even though I understand if it's going to be MAGA, that's going to be a part of it. Then yeah, then I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and go Democrat if I don't like a particular policy. But I know that policy is going to destroy it. I'll never sit out of an election on purpose. If I get sick and can't make it, it's a whole different story or something like that. But I'll never sit out on purpose because, as you can see, voting fucking matters. Look where we're at now. We are votes away from never having to deal with that guy. And those votes we didn't get. So if anybody says voting doesn't matter at this point, you're lying to yourself. Because if we had gotten millions and more to vote for Kamala, you would not be going through this. You could actually fight her on the things that you didn't like that she did, But the things that you loved about her, nobody says once you elect somebody, you got to go for everything they believe in. But you got to deal with the core. If the person's good, honorable to some degree that you believe in, believes in majority of what you say or believe in, then you can fight that person on the things that they don't like, that you don't like about them. But if somebody goes against your moral fiber and may have one or two things that you like about them, but everything about them goes against your moral fiber, I can't see why you would want to do anything with that. I wouldn't want to stand next to somebody who went against my moral fiber. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't believe in harming nobody for no reason. I don't believe in arresting people just because they came to this country to get away from people who try to kill them. So you're gonna put them around snakes and alligators and put more fear into their heart. I'm like, damn. I run from fear of being shot to fear of being bitten or choked to death. And I thought I was going to a country that gave a damn about people. I couldn't vote for that. And I don't see how anybody else did. And I also, before I end, I don't understand people who say, if I don't vote, I did my job. I know what the American system says, you don't have to vote, you're not forced to do it. I don't believe in that myself. And I know it's American, whatever. I don't believe in myself because if you don't vote, why are you pissed off at anything that goes wrong? Or right for that matter. You had no say in it. You had an option to have a say in it, but you had no say in it. It's like you went to the casino. I put down money. They put down money. I win. And you act like you won. You ain't got shit. You didn't put no money down. But you want a piece of the pie, the pot that I just won. Why? If I voted for Kamala and she gave us tax cuts and gave us money back, if you didn't vote for her, why would you get money back? You didn't put no fucking skin in the game. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm a go to gamble, but I ain't gonna put no money down, but I want a return. That's slow. I don't get that shit at all. Put your hand in the pot. Make your decision. Don't let the world determine what life you lead. Pick a choice, pick a lane. And if you win, great. If you lose, you just lose. But not participating, you lose every time. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, it's this country we live in. So anyway, much love to y'all. I know y'all having this the 4th for some, and some people are celebrating it. I know we basically are not because we're here, or at least we're not for right now. You know how it is. You can always support the show by what you see below. Become a subscriber, become a member. And you can see so right there, PayPal, Venmo, or donate, whatever you can to help build the show. Like I said, I'm fixing this up. Like I said, I think what I'm going to do is separate this show. This show is going to be all about straight facts, of course. But this is going to be a lot about the complaints and the problems that we go through and deciphering things and just using our brain and, telling it like it is, straight facts. I'm starting another one called, Avid Solutionist, and I'm focused on solutions to these problems and more. And I want to make it more fun and less stressed out. More of like, hey, let's get together and find out solutions. I'm like one of those people who geek out on solutions, like have a jam session of thoughts and ideas, like people who, play piano and guitar and harmonica and get together and jam out. We're going to get together and jam out with our brains and ideas and thought processes. I think it'll be fun. At least it will be for me. So I'm working on that show. I'm building that show right behind the scenes. So I'll get to it after my live show tonight in music, Chalky Music Lab, which I should be on right now, but it is what it is. But I'm excited about that. I got a whole music theme and logo for it. So I'm excited. Looking forward to that positive side of creating solution side to the problems. So it kind of goes along with my brain. The problem I come up with and the solutions I come up with. I'm a firm believer in that. When I was working in the industry, whether it be film and television or radio, whatever it is, whatever I worked at, even McDonald's when I was a kid, I always thought of the problem. And before I would bring it to my boss or anything like that, I would come up 2 or 3 solutions. And it was always a philosophy in my mind. If I'm gonna spend the energy to talk to my boss or anybody and I want something to change, I'm just not gonna go in and say we need to change something or morale is down, we need to fix it. I come in and be like, morale is down, people complain a lot, we need to fix it. Well, what do we do, Drew? Boom, I give them like 4 ideas, and sometimes they would take one or two, and wow, things would change and morale would pick up. So I've always been that person. If you're gonna come to me with a complaint, at least give me one solution, and that's what we're gonna do. Come up with some ideas, put some solutions together, and send people off to try and solve it, and come back to the next show and kind of like talk about individual solutions you guys may have came up with, and help people's lives. Sometimes you're gonna come up with solutions that's gonna improve people's lives or quality of life. And what better way to be a positive aspect on other people's lives than to give them solutions that they really don't have to pay for, just listen to. You know what I mean? That's what we're here for, to be of service to one another. And who knows, it might lead to people winning prizes or getting gigs somewhere where companies need solutions, and they find out like, oh, Alice Early has all these great solutions. We want to do a deal with her to help us create whatever. You just never know where it leads. And so I'm one of those people that feels like if I give people that type of platform, it allow them to have better lives, or at least opportunities for better lives. Can't promise anything, but fun and entertainment, and that's what I'm going to try and do with the Solutionist Show, the Avid Solutionist Show. So I'll show you the logo later on and stuff like that, but we're having fun with it and creating it. So I will see you guys. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see some of you guys on Monday at 5:30 on YouTube, TikTok. If you like old school music, I'm about to hit that up here in a minute. I play your list, I play my list, and then I close it out on TikTok. And that's Chocolate Music Lab. But other than that, I'll see you guys again on Monday around 5:30 Pacific Standard Time to discuss more about society and hopefully provide some kind of solutions at the end of it. And then also Avid Solutionists, look out for that for the weeks to come. And hopefully that'll become a place where we can all go and be like positive and not have to deal with the nonsense, but deal with the solutions to the nonsense. All right. You guys, have much love for y'all. I'll see y'all on Monday at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. As always, I'll see you when I see you.